True Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Building a movement, baby.
True Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Jayson Waller here, True Underdog, Unleash the Power Within. Super excited about today's episode. I've got my co-host John Leblanc with me, and we have got one of our district managers, a true underdog, has overcome major adversity, big baller, has been moving around for our business, Mr. Tim Yanetsko. How you doing, Tim?
Hey, Jason, thank you for having me on. I'm doing great today, man. It's been a whirlwind of things that have been going on here in the past couple of weeks, and happy to finally be able to get the chance to sit down and discuss everything with you and do this podcast.
Well, this is exciting. So, Tim, you and me know each other a little bit, not a lot. We haven't spent a lot of time together. For the listeners and viewers out there, Tim works for our company. He's a district manager. He's running our brand new Nashville office. He was a successful district manager here in the Charlotte area for us. But Tim's story came to fruition to John and others, and I know parts of it. I'm excited to find out a lot of it. But the biggest part is I want people to know who you are right now, what you're doing, how successful you are, because everyone thinks sometimes that this podcast is just about CEOs and entrepreneurs, and it's really not. We've had football players on here. We've had people who overcome cancer, people that have had issues with weight gain, influencers. And, we've had some of the executives here at the office on here as well. And we've had a director. We had Joe Caban on here. So I'm excited when we can tell other people's story that's part of our family at POWERHOME. I get jacked up about that. So Tim, why don't you kind of let the listeners and viewers know who you are and what you're doing right now that's so great?
Yeah. So for me, number one, I'm strong in my faith. I believe in God and that, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. That's the first most important thing for me. Secondly is that number two, I'm a father. And I have 3 beautiful children and a beautiful wife at home, and they're the most important thing to me in my life. Third comes work. And for me, work is where I pour a lot of myself into. And in the time that I've been with POWERHOME Solar, coming up on my 3rd year now, I had a lot of success in the field as a sales rep, a top 10 solar field energy consultant for the years of 2018. In the company, and then in 2019 I was promoted to the district manager's position in the Charlotte area, where I took a territory that was doing okay. I wouldn't say that they were blasting things off, and when I came in, we just started to take it to another level, to the point where we were able to split that market into 2, with the Charlotte and the Raleigh area, which I was covering both those territories at that time. I've had a lot of success with solar, and I think a lot of that comes down to, what my why is, which we'll get into here briefly and shortly, and all that kind of good stuff. I've gone from nothing to definitely something, a 6-figure earner within, a 1-year period. And there's not a lot of people out there that I think can say that.
Hey, and amen to you for bringing up your faith. I'm proud of you for that. And that's awesome. So good for you, my man. And, let's start. People don't realize that, when you come into an industry and selling solar in Charlotte, right? This is a tough market because there's not a lot of solar here, and we've been successful, but we're successful because of people like yourself, people that do have a why, and people that believe in what we do. And so much that you've grown that team to split, and now you're in a new market in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, how's Nashville been for you?
So, So with Nashville, we just actually got moved out here. First time getting into a house. So that's exciting. I've been living in 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartments, moving on up to where now we're in like a 2,800 square foot house. So I'm really proud of that, to be able to.
Hey, good for you, man.
Amazing. Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. The fenced in backyard so my dog can run around, that kind of stuff. So Nashville's going really well. We're staffing, we're hiring. At the moment right now, we're looking for really, good, strong in-home salespeople that, want to get into the solar industry or have looked into the solar industry before, but never took that leap of faith. And they got the right company to do that with here at POWERHOME Solar. So, and even if you don't have sales experience, that's okay too. We're willing to bring you in and train you. I'm confident enough in my abilities to be able to do that. So, even if that's the situation, give us a call or fill out whatever you need to fill out. But Nashville is going to be a growing market. We started off midway through April. We finished with a little over 500,000 in revenue. And this is a battery attachment market. So something new that we're experiencing where every customer has to have a battery installed with their system. So a lot of adversity that we're looking at overcoming, but I don't see it nothing but a challenge and something that I want to overcome anyway. So
that's great. That's a good opportunity. Well, go ahead, John.
Look, I've gotten a chance to speak with you a little bit, and we've had a couple conversations, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about your story. You did mention that you hire people with little or no sales experience, and you're one of those guys that come from little or no sales experience. And I'm a believer, typically the best coaches were never really the best athletes, right? The best athletes just sort of got it. They never really had to, not to say they didn't have to work for it, but it just came easy. You had to learn how to sell. You came from just a completely different background, and I want our listeners to know that and understand where it is you came from, how your upbringing was, and if you could kind of bring us up through your childhood and what life was like for you, maybe even at a young age or at a certain age. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So at a young age, I had a younger brother. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. And in the beginning, it was just me and my younger brother. And we actually had a pretty decent life. My dad was a car salesman and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And that went on for about 10 years and, things were really good. And then my other brothers and sisters started to come along, and there was a really large gap in between there. And I pretty much was, as a kid from 1 to 10, about that age, I had, someone there that was supporting me and my mom and doing everything, and a dad that worked really hard. And I think that he kind of just lost control and lost sight of what his goals and things were. And he ended up leaving us while I was at a really young age. So at the age of around 11, I think it was, everything was just taken away from us. We had nothing, and we lost our home, we lost our vehicle, we lost basically everything. And he went and did his own thing, and we had to go move with relatives. And this was I grew up only in New York, Western New York. And so just a small town south of Buffalo. It's right up in the Allegheny Mountains. So there's not a lot of people, one of those towns where, everybody knows your business and stuff like that. So when we moved in with my, aunts and uncles, it was tough. It was a struggle. My brothers and sisters were, I had my second brother, or that, my first brother that was close to my age, but my younger brother and then my 2 sisters that came after that, were really young. So it was a hard time, and my aunt and uncle had their 3 children of their own that they were raising too. So it was tough for them to have a whole nother family living in their home. So I think there was a total of 11 of us that were living in one farmhouse. It was a farmhouse that had passed down through the family and everything like that, the house that my mom actually grew up in. And then, I saw my mom, go through a lot of emotional stuff it was difficult and hard. She, at first it was like, what are we going to do? And then I slowly started to see her put a plan together, put together an idea. We ended up getting to be able to move out of that house about 1.5 years later, I think it was. and, moved into our own place. And then she worked, and, I helped out with, either watching kids or working myself. I started working at a young age. At 12 years old, I was delivering newspapers. And then when the law allowed me to go out and work, I started working in a restaurant called Friendly's. Friendly's Restaurant is a restaurant chain up there, as an ice cream scooper. And a lot of this stuff that I seen over those years really started to wear on me. Even at that young age, my dad would come back and he would leave, and then he'd come back and he'd leave again. And there was so much of this back and forth that I didn't know what stability was at all. I had completely forgot about the first 10 years of my life, and lost all sight of what being a stable family was. And eventually, after expressing that, with family and to my mother, she just finally made the decision to cut it off and just try to do things on her own, which she ended up doing. And, so we would graduate from place to place. We would always still stay local because that's where her family was at. And, I myself was going to school, working a job, trying to play sports after school, which was really tough, with having to work and do all that kind of stuff, as well. So, through your high school years, you're learning and you're trying to develop into a young man. And there was none of that there. There was no guidance from another adult male figure to give to me. So I really just leaned on what my mom was doing and watching what she did, with trying to raise 5 children on her own, without any help. And, she would bounce from job to job as, working in restaurants and working at a bank and stuff like that. And, myself, I struggled really bad in school. My attention was always somewhere else. It was just so much emotion going on with everything that was within our family that, I didn't have, again, that guidance to say, finish school, do what you need to do to finish school, because as long as you get to that finish line, you'll be able to continue to make it through. And I never had that. So as the years continued to pass by and I started to think about things, I just didn't see that finishing school was the right choice for me. So I did end up dropping out of high school after my junior year. And
what was that like? Yeah. What was that like for your family? You're the oldest, 5, I believe you said, and they see their older brother who's really trying to be the male figure in the house, and you're almost playing dad, right? And I can relate somewhat. My dad was there, and he was a great dad, and he taught me hard work, and he's one of the best human beings in the world. But they worked a lot of hours to pay stuff. And then my dad delivered papers at night I'd help him with. But there were times that I had to guide my brother, almost feel like a dad to my brother or sister. Sometimes you as the oldest, some people, all the oldest listeners out there would relate to this. All your younger siblings are almost like your children. So you play that figure, especially if that figure's not there. What was that like to relay that to your siblings?
Well, I can honestly tell you that I wasn't a good kid. To be honest with you, I had a lot of bad traits about me, bad habits that started at a really young age. So I wasn't really a good example for them. And I can admit that full-heartedly without feeling bad about it now at this point in time in my life. But it was hard. I mean, it was difficult to being that person and trying to step into that role, and I couldn't do it. I wanted to be a kid. I wanted to live my life as a teenager, and I wanted to be able to do the things that my friends were doing. And my mom would try the best with having babysitters or having her mom come and watch the children and stuff like that, so I could be able to do the things that I did. And she sacrificed so much for me and every one of us. But it was a hard feeling to go through at, 14, 15, 16 years old, when you're just wanting to be a kid and you're having to work, 5-6 hours after school every day, 8 hours on the weekend. You know, a minimum wage then was $4.75 an hour. I mean, I was making, if I worked 40 hours, I'd make $120 for a week's worth of work. And that was no money at all. So it wasn't really a big help, but I was just trying to do what I could. And, you know, that feeling as far as, you know, being the father figure and the example, I wanted to do that, but I failed at it. It was something that I definitely did not 100% take, you know, by the reins and just, you know, lead my younger brothers and sisters to, you know, where they should have been or anything like that. And a lot of it, you know, they were really young. Some of them were really young. The 3 younger ones were at a really young age. And my brother that was closer to me, he was the good kid. Like, he was the good child. He, you know, did his thing, and he finished and graduated high school and went to college, and he got a job right out of college. And, you know, he's, you know, working for a huge, you know, hedge fund company or something like that there in the Charlotte area, where they do, you know, investments and stuff like that for teachers. And, you know, he was the one that kind of assumed that role of, you know, I'm going to do what's right. And I was the bad guy. I was the bad child. And, you know, with not finishing school, to go back to where I was at, you know, Mom always had a rule that was either you're going to go to school, or when you turn 18, you're out of here. You know, you're out on your own, because you're going to do what's right, or you're not going to be here under my roof doing it. Because she had just done so much for us, for me to do what I was doing at that time, for me to disrespect her, kind of, you know what I mean with that.
Tim, when you say bad, you were the bad child. Is that largely because of how you were in school? Were you rebellious in other areas of your life? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah. So, well, I started to, you know, smoke weed at a age of 15. I would drink beer. I would go to parties on the weekends, you know. Sometimes I'd be throwing those parties, whatever the case may be. So it was to answer your question, you know, that time in my life was the base period of either I'm gonna get straightened out, or I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I chose the path of I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's where the mistakes were made at a young adolescent age. You know, and that's something for everyone to hear is, you know, if you have, you know, if you're a single mom or you're a single dad and you're out there struggling with a child that, you know, is rebellious and doesn't want to do what you're saying, you know, you have to put your foot down and draw the line in the sand, or it will just become enablement. And that's something that she was not going to do. She was not going to enable me to throw my life down the drain. And so the day I turned 18, June 24th, 2000, right? I came home. I'd been out with some friends. I walked up to the door and I noticed some bags and that looked like my stuff. And I tried to turn the knob, and that knob wasn't turning.
Just like that, huh?
Just like that. Access not granted. So, yeah, that was it. I got in touch with her. Back then there wasn't cell phones. It wasn't like I could just pick her up. I had to walk to a payphone and drop a quarter in and call her. And she said, I told you, and that's your stuff. And this is hard for me, you know, but you're going to have to learn. And it took me about 9 months from that point in time to kind of get over the anger of that initial situation and realize, like, hey, I've really made a mistake here. You know, I really just threw my life down the drain at such a young age. And so I talked to her, I think it was Thanksgiving night. We had a conversation, and she was firm. She was not going to let me come back. That night, where I was staying at, I was living with just a friend that I had met just from being out and about, and we had a basement apartment in Olean, New York, and so she had her own side, I had my own side, and she was involved in a lot of bad stuff and some real heavy stuff. And when I came into my side of the apartment, the basement apartment, that night after Thanksgiving, there was a guy, a male, that was hiding in my side of the apartment, and he was waiting for me. And essentially what she had done is she had robbed this man and had left, and like he was staying on her side, and they had a relationship going. She robbed him and left, and when I came in, he attacked me. He put me in a chair, and he slapped me around real good, told me he was going to kill me if I didn't have what he was looking for, and I had no idea what he was even talking about. And so from that point, I contacted my mom that evening, and she got me out of there, and she brought me back home. She laid down the law, and I, after going through that experience, that was a pretty traumatic experience for me, because I had never experienced anything like that. And I just said, I'm not going to I'm not going to be stupid with my life. I'm just going to get back straight. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to try to at least get a GED, since I can't go back to school. So I ended up getting a job, and the job actually helped me get my GED, which was in January of 2001. And it was right around that time my mom ended up getting breast cancer for the first time. I think it was in March of 2001, maybe it was late February, early March, that we ended up finding out that she did come down with breast cancer. So she, that was tough. So, and that for me it was really hard to hear that, and especially with what I had going on. And the job that helped me get my GED, I'll never forget, it was Southern Tier Healthcare Systems. I helped them write policies for health insurance. I had no idea what I was doing. I was basically just there playing solitaire every day, and they were paying me to do it. And, I was cool with that. But I knew that this wasn't my life's career. Like, this isn't where I'm going to be at. This isn't a situation. And if I continue to stay in this area, I'm gonna go back to the way that I was. So if I continue to live in this environment where the people that I know that can influence me, I'll ruin my life. I'll just, even the little baby steps that I had taken to, get better off and try to go down that right path, because you come to your Y in the road, your fork in the road. And, I had backtracked and started to make it down this path. And, I didn't want to throw away all that I had just had. So I felt like it was best that I leave the state of New York. And so I just started looking for jobs. I found an ad in a paper for a construction working job in West Texas, and they would pay for me to go down there. And they'd pay for me to stay in a hotel, and I would, be a road worker, and no idea what I was doing, why I did that, but it was a terrible time to leave. My mom was in a position where she was vulnerable. She was going through a lot. Her job was definitely supportive of her with her situation with, now raising the 4 children that were left in the home. And, with me being there and getting ready to leave. So I left. It was in April of 2001. I left and moved to Texas, West Texas, a town called Littlefield. And there was nothing there. It was just flat and dry and hot, and I hated it. And you know, with my dad, even though my younger brothers and sisters didn't have that initial base relationship that I had with them for the first 10 years, they didn't have that relationship, but I did. So I still tried to maintain at least a little bit of contact with him. And, you know, he would go through spurts where he would be okay and then he wouldn't. And it just so happened at this time was one of these, you know, times where I hadn't seen him in 3 years, my dad. And I reached out to him, and he was in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I told him where I was at, what I was doing, and what was going on. And he told me, you know, you should come here. There's a lot of opportunity. Atlanta is a booming city. You could get established here. And even if you didn't want to, you could at least come work here for the summer and then move back to New York, save you some money and move back to New York and go back to be with your mom. So I said, okay, that sounds like a plan. And so I hopped on another Greyhound bus. The first one was 48 hours to get from Olean to Texas, and then another 36 to get from Texas to Georgia, which, you know, that was pretty rough. But once I got there, I immediately fell in love with Atlanta and the whole area and the surroundings and the people and the way that people treat people down there. It's the whole Southern hospitality thing. And, you know, I jumped right into a good job. And at that time, my dad was selling cars. He's a car salesman. He's always been in sales his whole life. He was selling cars at a dealership on the south side of Atlanta, and they had a position open in their detail department, their auto detail department. And so I went to work there, and, you know, initially it was going to be for the summer, but that didn't happen very long, you know, and, you know, I wanted to stay. I was making $11 an hour on a commission-based job. So the harder I worked, the more money I made. And, you know, I like doing that. I like working really hard and making, you know, I was 18, 19 years old, and I was making, you know, $700 $700 a week, $1,400 every 2 weeks, which was really good money for someone who didn't graduate high school and wasn't working at McDonald's. So I was happy about that. So in that time period, the initial stay with my dad, things went really well. We were staying in a really tiny house. There really wasn't much room for me there. He had his girlfriend there, and it was a 1-bedroom house, if you could even imagine what a 1-bedroom house looks like. But it had a walk-in closet on the same side as the bedroom, so it was separated. There was a wall that separated it, and you'd walk out of the bedroom into the closet. And that closet was big enough to fit a bed and, you know, a dresser in there. And that's what I had. So I basically stayed in the closet, you know, for that time period that I was there. And
How long was that period that you stayed in the closet?
that period was, so that actually was till January of 2002. So this is in 2001. So from May, so I left Texas. I was in Texas in April. I left in May. So 1 month out in the desert. And then
About 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, it's about 7 or 8 months. And
then after that, you know, I'm looking, it seems like you're in Atlanta and you're staying in there. It says you got married in 2003. So did things get better right after that and you got married?
Yeah, so things were going really good, actually, for that first 7 to 8 months with my dad. You know, we were having a good time, enjoying ourselves. We would work and have fun. And then I met my future ex-wife at that time in like September of 2001. And so I was going back and forth. I would go stay the night with her, yada, yada. She would come stay the night at my house, whatever. And my dad and his girlfriend ended up getting into some really big fights, and I could start to see my dad going downhill. And I had been back to New York a couple times to visit with my mom, just to check on her with everything that was going on with the cancer. And she was going through chemo, and things were looking really good. Like, she was on a recovery path that was really good. So I had a little bit of peace about that. And then in January of 2001, he just fell apart again. Like, he made $25,000 in the month of January, and in February had no money to pay the rent. And so we were out. We just were put out of our place because he just completely fell apart in like a 1 week, 2 week period. And so I had, again, nowhere to go. He said, you can either come with me or you can do your own thing. And I said, I'm going to go do my own thing, because obviously you can't hold it together.
So now, let me jump in so the listeners know that this is the third time you're getting ready to be on your own. The first
Yes.
time you came back and mama had your shit outside and said, you ain't coming back. Right? You
Yep,
left.
that's right.
Situation got bad. Mama took you in. You started to get your shit together. You got a wild hair. You said, I need to get out of this place. You went to Texas.
Yep.
You didn't like it. You're on your own. You reached out to Pops. House opportunity number 3 for you to kind of be somewhere. You're living in a closet. Just so in a closet, you find a girlfriend, your future ex-wife. You're hanging out at her place. You're hanging back out at your place. Mm-hmm. Pops has shit going on. He makes great money, pisses it away, and the bottom falls out. I'm just making sure. And then you guys are out again.
Yep.
What now?
So my girlfriend's mother allowed me to come stay there she put like a limitation on it. Like, you got 3 months, get your own place. Y'all move out on your own. And remember, I'm just in a relationship where I just met this girl. I mean, we're September to January now. So that's 4 months. I've only known her 4 months. And so I worked really hard. I saved every penny I could get. And I got us an apartment on the south side of Atlanta, which was probably 15 minutes to, not even 15, 5 minutes to my work. So I could get to work and back in 5 minutes. No big deal at all. But it was our place of our own. This is my first real place that I had that I could call my own. So we stayed there for 4 years in that apartment. And at that time, you know, we were dating, we, you know, blah, blah, everything's going really well. We're in a routine. Everything is good. And then my first daughter comes along. She gets pregnant, and we're getting ready to have a baby, but we're not married. And my mom is...
I can relate to that, by the way.
Yeah, good. So you know what I was going through at that time with not knowing what to do. I'm 21 years, no, I'm not even 21, I'm 20 years old, not even 21, about to turn 21, and got a baby on the way. And this is in 2003.
Scary moment, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't know what to do.
Didn't have a clue what to do. I didn't know what I was doing at all. Just going day to day, trying to make sure that the bills are paid, trying to pay off my first car and everything like that, and just trying to get ahead in life at least a little bit. And then you don't know what you're going to do with that. And so we ended up getting married. You know, the bright idea was, let's just go ahead and get married. You know, we don't want to have a baby out of wedlock. Let's go ahead and do it and just be married. And that way these children or child has a family. And which wasn't a good idea. You should never rush into a permanent lifelong decision like that.
I would second that. And I'm going to jump in here.
Go ahead.
I had my daughter with my wife now, right? She was 16. I was 17 when she got pregnant. Okay. And We played house on and off for 2.5 years till we got married, right? Yeah, move in. Nah, move out. Nah, move in. Nah, move out. And when your kids raising kids, people don't understand. You need a foundation, but you don't need to run to get married because you already have a child together. So you're linked to that person forever. But when you add marriage to it, it just creates more pressure, more struggle, and harder to unravel because you can always be parents, right? But it's hard to coexist and be married. And I say that because my oldest daughter, I'm a grandfather now. She also just gave birth to my granddaughter 11 months ago. When she got pregnant, well, first of all, she got engaged first.
Yeah.
Then she got pregnant a few months later, like 6 months later. And then she was like, we're going to rush and get married. And I said, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Wow.
You don't need to run and get married. You're still new in this relationship. God's given you a gift. You've got a baby coming. We're going to rally around this baby, but you don't need to get married because you two might not get along, and you can still parent and not be married. That old school stuff, look, and I'm a Christian too, but I don't think it's necessary for people to have to do that if the situation is wrong. It's ideal, but it's not necessary. Go ahead.
Agreed. I 100% agree with you on that, Jason. And that's, we tried, and, we moved, and we moved into a bigger place. Obviously, we got a baby now. We need the extra room. So we moved back more towards the western side of Atlanta, and I just commuted back and forth to work. And we struggled with a lot of things relationship-wise in the beginning, but we would have our good moments. And so I ended up staying at that car dealership for about 6 years, working in the detail department. I did try to go into car sales for 6 months, and I did really well at it. I just didn't like it. It just wasn't, I didn't feel right about it at the time. And I was young, and just trying to get ahead is my thing, is like, just do anything possible to get ahead. So in 2005, so we're looking at 2 years later, after we had moved, after my first daughter was born. So my first daughter is 2 now. My second daughter came along. And after she was born, that's kind of where we ran into a lot of issues. We were already struggling enough as it was. And then adding a second child into the mix was a complete and utter mistake. I think that a lot of that, the reason that happened was, I think that she was really just trying to hold on, because I pretty much was, by the time my oldest daughter was 2, I was pretty much done, and had enough of what was going on in our personal life, and to save life, or save face for, her. I won't get into depth about that, but it was just a bad situation for both of us.
And I think when you say that it's another mistake for the marriage, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're putting pressure and burden on something, A, you're uncomfortable with, and B, you both seem to be unhappy. She's latching on and trying to hold and control. God gives you another gift, ready to take on the responsibility, be a great father, because that's how it works. But it's a burden on marriage sometimes. And it's not that it's the child's fault by no means, but when relationships, at least in my opinion, are so brittle, any kind of change, job change, location change, family change, money change, it puts the pressures on a relationship. And look, if anybody knows, I love my wife dearly. She's my best friend. She's my ride or die. Mm-hmm. But man, we have been through rock'em, sock'em, wars, battles, kids, holy moly. I mean, family. I mean, you could write Romeo and Juliet, and damn it, it is like me and her and the family. Like, it is crazy like that. So if anybody understands some of what you're saying, I get it, brother. I get it. Yeah. So it was a mistake for the marriage, but still God's gift. So perfect. Okay. So
you guys, the kids, we're trying to make it work. Yeah. So from 2006 to 2008, we're trying to make it work. And we're getting to a point where, it's like a crock pot. Like, it's just slowly raising up, and then it's going to get to the point where it's just going to explode. And in 2008, that's what we had reached. We had reached the explosion point. I said, if we're going to make this work, we've got to get out of here and get to, by this time, my mom had moved to North Carolina because she had been through her cancer thing. She was, my stepdad, Ken, he had his business and they moved everything to North Carolina. Things were going really well for them there. And I said, we've got to get out of this situation and get to North Carolina because there's so many outside influences on you and me and everything that's going on that if we don't get there, it's not going to work out. So he agreed to that. She said, yes, let's do that. I'm more than willing to do that with you. So I said, great. So this is the plan of action. And Madison is 3 now. Mackenzie is almost 1.
Hey, I've got a Mackenzie.
Oh, yeah?
Great name. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. She's like 8, 9 months old now. And I said, listen, I'll go to Mooresville. That's where my mom was living at the time. And I said, I'll go to Mooresville and I'll find a job. And it won't take me long. I'm really good at finding jobs. So I'll go up there. I'll find a job. I'll come back. I'll work for like a month. My mom will let me stay there. I'll save enough money for us to get a place. I'll come back. I'll get you. And then we'll move up there. Okay. So she's good. Plan in place. I go to Mooresville. I stay with mom. About a week in, I get a job working at a factory they're planning to start me 1 week from being there. So at the 2-week point, I would have started working. $14 an hour job in a factory, but just something to get us started. So I wanted to go back and see the kids before I got started. And on my way back, when I got down there, basically what ended up happening is she had changed her mind. And she goes, well, now I don't want to go. And she goes, now I want to go stay with my mom and my grandmother. And I said, well, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't go over there because we're going to be set up here in 2 weeks. And I said, I'm not going to leave you guys and I'm not going to leave my family. But we didn't have no other choice. It's either we're going to end up moving in with your mom and your grandmother, or we're going to go to North Carolina and we're going to have our own place and start a new life there. And she was dead set on not doing that. So and this was the weekend that we're moving the stuff out of the place because she was supposed to go stay with mom and grandma and just stay there till I was ready. And then she would come there. Well, that plan fell apart after I left. In 1 week, somehow she got to the point where she didn't want to try to work this out anymore. So she was still from the whole crockpot thing and everything that had been going on, she was done. So that weekend, as I'm helping move the stuff into the place, she tells me, she says, listen, I know I didn't tell you this, but you can't stay here. Like, you have to leave. You can't be here with us. My grandmother will not allow you to stay in this home. So you can either go back to North Carolina or you can do something else, but you can't come here. And I said, but I'm not going to leave my kids and my wife and my family. I'm not going to leave you unless you go with me. My only option is either you come with me or I don't leave. That's where I stand. And she said, well, you can't stay here. And I said, well, I can't leave my kids. I can't leave them. And she said, well, then you can stay here, then fine, do whatever, but you're not going to stay in this home. So we discussed that over the weekend. It was like a really tense moment in my life where I didn't know. I was really in a situation now where what am I going to do? Because I'm not going to go back to North Carolina and leave my kids. And So that night, that Sunday night, the night that we finished moving everything, you know, my stuff was in bags and stuff like that already. So she said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." She said, "Well, you can't stay here." And I was like, "Well, let's just get in the car and you can take me somewhere, I guess." And so the kids are in the back seat. They're in their car seats. I'm in the front seat. She's driving. So we were just driving around, and we get to a road called South Cobb Drive down in Atlanta. And it's not a very nice area. And I don't have any money either, by the way. I had maybe $50, $60, not enough to get a hotel. Maybe for one night, but not enough. And then I wouldn't have anything to eat on. So we pulled into a IHOP on South Cobb Drive, and she dropped me off right there. And I said, "Are you going to do this? Like, you're really going to do this?" And she said, "I can't do this anymore." And she drove away. My kids were in the back seat watching, and that was it. That was the end of that.
Time where your stuff is packed pretty much, and you're told you can't stay here. Yes. You're at the IHOP, and, you know, you're on your own again. I would assume that, did you stay in Georgia a little longer after that? You find a place, get a job, and see your kids?
That's right. The very next day, I walked down the hill from the IHOP. I walked into the first building that looked like a business, and got a job that day.
Now, it says here, if we fast forward, you ended up getting divorced.
Yeah.
Right. And then it got dark again.
Yeah, this is where things really start to get bad, because now I'm not seeing my kids. I'm not seeing I'm just on my own. I'm alone with everything stripped away from me, and I'm trying to fill that void with anything, you know, drugs, alcohol, anything that I can get that will take that pain away from me to make it stop. Even though I still continue to work, and I still continue to be a normal human being in society through the majority of the time, it was just any way every day to get rid of that pain. Mm. I went through that for about 3 years, from 2009 when the divorce was finalized to about 2012. And you know, on and off jobs. I had good jobs, I lost those. I had bad jobs, I lost those. And a lot of it was due to my own folly, just making mistakes, stupid mistakes, because of the drugs or the alcohol or whatever the case may be. And, you know, even sometimes to the point where I was contemplating just suicide and just saying, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore. Like, my life is just, it's a waste. There's no point in even continuing to go on. Like, that's how far to the bottom that I had sunk with the emotional loss of not being able to see my children on an everyday basis, and not being able to guide them and lead them and be a parent and be a father to them as they were in their development ages and their development stages. And in 2012, I came to a breaking point. April of 2012, I got into a little bit of trouble. I spent a night in jail because of a stupid mistake, and which was all that all cleared up later on. But at that point, I really had an awakening. Like, you got to do something, man. Like, you're at that point again in your life where if you don't change your life around, you're going to die. Like, you're going to end up killing yourself. And either do that or get it together and turn it around. So I left. I would take breaks, and I would leave, and I would leave Atlanta and go to New York, and I would leave Atlanta and go back to Mooresville and Charlotte to see my mom and try to get some basis about myself and get myself back on the ground. And it always comes back to going back to see Dad. And Dad had spent about 7 years in jail and was living in New York with his mom. He had just been gotten out of jail, and I called him and I said, this is what I have going on. I need to come there and get sober and get straight. And here I am talking to the world's biggest pinhead that you can have about getting sober and straight. And, so I went there and I seen him. And the only benefit that I got out of that was I did get to see my grandmother on my dad's side before she passed away in 2012. But I stayed there about a week, and that's all I could take of being around him. He was just a terrible person. Prison had definitely changed him. It wasn't that person. The person that I knew from years ago was not that same person. Because remember, we had those 8 or 9 months of good times from May of 2001 till January, where it was awesome. So I left there and moved back to Charlotte. In Charlotte for 3 weeks. I worked with my stepdad and, got a little money up. And then I talked to one of my friends about moving back to Atlanta, where he was closer out away from Atlanta, more towards where the girls were at, Madison, where they were at. And he said, yes, come down. I got a room for you. You stay in this room. You get yourself together. Don't worry about paying me no rent until you get stable, and then, we'll go from there.
Did you do that?
Yes. Yep, that's right.
That's a good friend.
Yes. Yeah, that guy's like, and it's funny because he's actually my uncle now, which I'll get into.
Well, the people need to understand, and I have friends, family, that go through similar situations which you're going through, especially with addiction or struggles of depression for suicide. I think to find someone who is willing to give you time and to care, that's huge. And that's
absolutely,
I think everybody takes for granted, especially when they're in a dark place, because they're either too humbled or too embarrassed to ask for help. And I think that it's so important that listeners and viewers out there understand that you may know somebody that was like what Tim's situation was, or what a lot of people's situations are. And sometimes you got to reach out and help those people. You can't just sit on the sideline and just let them wither away. So, it's good for him to do that. But go ahead.
Tim, real quick, I got a question. I don't want you to skip over any part of your story, but you're a strong man of faith, and I don't know if you're getting to this at some point, but like, where's that? Like, are you not attached, or is your faith not nearly as strong at this point?
I lost all of that. I lost all that.
I had it at one point, and then it just gone.
Yeah, I didn't understand, and I wouldn't say that I was angry at God or anything like that. I just didn't understand how that could happen to one person, and then you still have to be that way. I just didn't I was lost. I didn't understand, and I was angry, and so many streams of emotion that you go through every day that is like the very farthest thing back from your mind. And that's where a lot of people go wrong is they turn to the drugs and the alcohol instead of turning to their faith and leaning on that support system that's there. And if I would have just done the other, who knows where I would be right now. But the way that it went, it's fitting, and where everything ends up and where it goes. And you can see that, even though I wasn't at that point then, now that I'm, 10 years down the road now, from where I was in those times, you can see God's fingerprints and prints all over it, all the way through the times where maybe I didn't have a place to stay at for a night, and somebody came along and helped me, because there's a lot of that.
Which is what we just spoke about, right? So
yeah, there's a lot more of that in between there too, where it's like you can go into and touch on every bad scenario that you went through, where a relief came through at the very last second that you weren't expecting. So,
you're starting to turn it around at this point, where your friend reached out to you, right? And then there's it looks like some good things that start to emerge in your life.
Yeah. So 2012 in October, basically what it was is I had to come back and do court from the situation that happened in April. And so basically I came back and found out that all of that had been just erased. Like it just went away. Not that it was like a mistake or clerical error. It just, there was situations that happened within the court system where it went away. I don't know how, but checked it thousands and thousands of times, confirmed with my officer. And
another odd thing.
Yeah, another thing that's just like, how did that even happen?
Getting these chances, right?
Yes.
Getting these lifelines.
Yes. So this is the one where I'm like, I'm not going to do it again. Like, I'm not going to let myself go through the emotional distress. And I'm like, I'm as far from like, guys like that are just like, well, you could get you a girlfriend and find you a girlfriend and all that. And from 2010 or 2009 to 2012, that's a 3-year period. I didn't date or see a single woman in my life. I just did my own thing, and that was it. And so that was the farthest thing from my mind, getting into another relationship. My focus was the children. How do I get the kids back? And obviously I knew I couldn't get them back with the scenario that I was in, but that's what I wanted. And I started to develop that why at the time. What my why was at that time was, I got to get them back. Like that's my main priority. And so 2012, I started to get on my feet. I got a job working for my roommate's wife's uncle. He owned a business, and I went and worked for him Monday through Friday. And then my roommate's wife's parents owned a tow truck business. So I would work Monday through Friday at the waterproofing business. And then Friday night through Sunday night, I would drive a tow truck. And then Monday I'd get up and start it all over.
Wow.
I did that for, I think, 14 months in a row. So every day, never missed a beat. I think I might have missed one day because I had a toothache or something like that. But other than that, I'd work 365 days a year. I did not care. As long as I wasn't out doing something stupid is how I looked at it. So those opportunities started to lead into other opportunities. I started paying my friend rent and started saving money. I ended up buying a vehicle. And, now we're into 2013. We're just daily routine, day in and day out, working, getting yourself back together, trying to rebuild, trying to do that. And I'm seeing the girls, so I'm doing well with that. And my wife's, or not my wife, but my roommate's wife, her niece came to stay with us. And we got to know each other really well. And, through that, we developed a friendship, and then it turned into a relationship. And so in August of 2013, as we're seeing the girls and doing stuff and everything like that, I moved out of his house to a house in Villa Rica, Georgia, which is way on the outskirts of Atlanta. We're talking about almost to the Alabama line. But now I'm in the neighborhood next to the neighborhood of where the girls are living. So now I've just moved right next door, basically. As much as they hated me and as much pain as I gave them, not the girls, but the grandparents and my ex-wife and all that.
The in-laws.
Next door. So we're looking like some Reba McEntire type stuff over here with we got the ex-husband living next door, and then the ex-wife right there too with all the kids. So I'm working towards getting these kids back. My goal is, I want my kids. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. Give me my kids back. That's my goal. That's what I'm going to do. So we just day in, day out stuff. 2013 goes by. They're coming to my house. They're staying 4 nights a week. I'm taking them to school. We're doing our thing. I'm with my fiance now at the time. We'd gotten engaged that year in 2014. And 2013 we got engaged. 2014 we got married in August. And again, I don't know what it is with me, man, but I ran into just a bad situation. Like I lost my job. I wasn't doing anything wrong though this time. This time it was just like a natural, you lost your job, you know? And so I'm looking for jobs. I can't find anything, man. I'm struggling. And so, you know, my stepdad owns a business here in Mooresville, in Statesville. Or not here, where you're at in Statesville or Mooresville. But
Yeah, we gotcha.
Where I'm at.
Yeah.
John's in Michigan. Yep.
I'm still thinking I'm in North Carolina. I'm so new in Nashville. But so, yeah, they own a business there. So I'm going from Georgia to North Carolina. I'm working Monday through Saturday. I come home Sunday, stay Monday, and come back on Tuesday. And I'm doing that, you know, for a month and a half. And in that process of that happening, my mom ends up getting breast cancer again. And it's like, dang, man, like, what the heck? So this time, I'm not letting her down this time. Like, we're out of here. Like, if I get to take the kids, then great. If they won't let me take the kids, then we're going to have to figure that situation out. But I'll be back with them. Guaranteed I'm coming back to get you. And that was the last thing I said to them. The day that we put all of our stuff into a U-Haul and moved to North Carolina, the last thing I said is, I'm coming back to get you. And I promise you that. This time, there's not going to be no, well, maybe we'll see you, maybe we won't. Daddy's coming. So we went to North Carolina, and we had nothing. We put everything in a storage unit and started living out of a hotel in Statesville, like the nastiest place you could live in because it was cheap. And we just needed to save.
So that would be called a motel.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
I
always separate for the listeners. Hotel is pretty nice. Motel, not so nice.
Yeah, motel. That's right. Like, it was awful. They actually tore that place down now, and there's an Ingles right there when you get off the exit.
So you're living in there, and that's in 14, right? And you
Yep.
the
So
girls to come back. Let's hear some of that good news now. So you start to turn your life around, right?
Here we go. So 2015. Well, 2014, Mom has the surgery at the end of the year. We move into our first apartment. We're married. We just got married. 2015 rolls around, and we're in our 1-bedroom, and things are going really well. I mean, work is going well. Our relationship is on point. We've been together like 3 years now. I'm in love with this woman. She's definitely the one for me. Like, super happy about the way that she makes me feel, the way that I make her feel, and we're a team. Like, we're good. And she makes me a better man, and I know that 100% of the time. So as we go through 2015 and we're starting to save money and we're leaving, she ends up getting pregnant. So we're going to have a son together. And, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm excited about that because this was planned. I'm ready for this. Like, I'm at a point now where, you know, I'm ready to settle down and be dad and do all that stuff. But there's 2 parts that are missing from that puzzle, and they're back in Georgia. So I
think that's so awesome that you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in that situation, they don't. They just move on. I can't tell you how many people I've met, men and women, where their dad or their mom or whatever goes and gets remarried. It kind of just, they didn't have the interest. So for you to say that you're super excited, but there's two pieces of the puzzle to make it complete is just really remarkable. I mean, that says the kind of person that you are. So go ahead.
So we looked at it, we looked at everything, and we had discussions with them about, you can do this the easy way or you can do it the hard way. And the easy way is you just give them up and we go on about our business. You'll get your visitations. I'll make 100% sure that you see them. That's what's important. I would never want you to go through what I've just gone through for the past 9 years. So they bucked and they said, no way, not doing it. No way you're taking them to North Carolina. So when we sat down and we looked at everything and we go, 90% of women win full custody of their children's cases when it goes to court, 90%. So 10% of men get custody back of their children. So the question at hand was, do we spend $16,000 on 10%, a 10% chance? And I said, hell yeah, we do it all day long, baby. Let's go.
Bam! That's exciting.
We went in there, and within the first 3 months, we had a temporary order, and they were back living with me within 3 months. And that ensued to be a 2.5, 3 year battle of back and forth. There was some ups and downs. We ended up losing them because of a court clerical error where they held a court date, didn't notify anyone, which reverted back to the original standing order. So on a visit one weekend, and this is the best part, like this is the craziest part right here. The day that when I got hired with POWERHOME, and I'll get into more of that just in a second, not real deep, but the day that I was supposed to do my shadowing, it was a Monday. I was going through my training and I was supposed to be doing shadow Monday morning. Sunday, I was supposed to pick my kids up in Anderson, South Carolina. And this order had failed. It was a faulty order. I drove at Sunday night at 4:00 in the afternoon. I left North Carolina. I drove straight to Atlanta, went to the house, had the police out there with the correct order, showed the police the order. He wouldn't give me the custody back because of the situation with the paperwork that she had. The oldest one ran out the door and jumped in my car. And she's like, I'm going with you. I'm not staying here. I'm out of here. I'm going back to North Carolina where I'm supposed to be at. The younger one stayed, which was fine. I wasn't leaving without at least something. And I told her, we'll see you in court. No big deal. Turned around, drove straight back to North Carolina, and was like, I got in at 4:55, 5:10 in the morning, something like that. My shadow at 7 a.m. because I was not losing this job. I was like, I'm not losing this job over this. Like, even if I'm half asleep, I'm going to sit through these shadows and not show up. That's not happening. So I drove all the way through, drove all the way back, and boom, I was there in time to make it for my shadows to be able to keep this position because I knew what an opportunity this was for me. So, but yep, so basically the way that everything worked out with coming to work here, I was in a situation where I was seasonal work and I didn't have anything permanent. And I was doing okay. My family does really well. They pay me $22 an hour plus bonuses, or $20 an hour plus bonuses, or whatever. And I'd make $25,000, $30,000 a year, which was enough to support my family. But I knew it wasn't the life that they wanted and they deserved, And so I found POWERHOME on Craigslist. I thought it was a scam. I was like, there's no way that's real. It's got to be a scam because it's.
Hey,
on
you sound like
Craigslist.
one of our customers. What's the catch? What do you mean I can save money? But go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, what's the catch? There's no way I can make 6 figures and get a car and get a gas card and get all the leads, and there's no way it's true. But just in case, let me go ahead and send a text message in. So I don't know who I can't remember who the text message went to, but I sent it in and they said, send me an email with a resume. I don't have a resume. And even if I did, I wouldn't want to show it to anyone. Not that great. So,
That's great. I hate.
So I text that number back like 2 days later, and I was like, hey, I sent you an email. Did you get it? And the response was, I get a lot of emails every day. And that was it. I was like, who the heck is this guy? So I sent a message. I typed a message up, and I was like, listen. And at this point, after seeing Power Home on Facebook and seeing all the social media stuff and learning about where you guys were at that time and the direction that you were heading, I was like, man, I got to get on with these guys. Like I'm praying about it, and I'm hoping that like this is the right spot for me. Like I want that so bad. So I texted him back and I was like, look, I don't know you. You don't know me, dude, but I want a chance here. Like you need to give me a chance to sit down in front of somebody to talk to so I can just prove my work ethic. Because that's all I want to do is just prove my work ethic. And the next text I got back was Friday, 10 a.m. Do you need the address? And I said, no, I don't need the address. I got it. Showed up Friday, interviewed with Kenny, and had a special guest appearance in my interview that day. And his name was Jayson Waller. Came in and he was talking about how they just got back from Vegas. And how they were coming back from the Conor McGregor fight or something like that. And he was talking about it, and in my mind, I'm going like, this is the sickest fucking job ever, man. Like, I gotta get on here, man. So yeah, I mean, Kenny did, and obviously he ended up hiring me, and that's how.
And zero sales experience, dude. Zero.
Well, zero, none.
You sold them on you. That's one of the greatest stories we always hear about is, you know, we like to hire people based on character and drive and people that have a why. We don't like to hire those people like, oh, I close all these deals and I sell this, or those aren't our people. We like people that like yourself, like that have a why, that have a purpose, that have a goal, that have a drive, that want to be like we have a motto, bam, build a movement. You want to make your own movement for your family. You want to be a part of something. And I think Kenny really is good at seeing that. He saw that you and Max and you guys came in the same place, like similar stories based on your guys's work experience and not being in sales, right? Different, life stories, but it's just amazing that you share this story of all these different avenues of defeat, of being stuck in a closet. I mean, your life really was in a closet, and then you were thrown out of the closet and then back in the closet. And, you were chained of what you can and can't do with your girls that mattered so much to you that you fought for them. And hopefully I'm not out of line, but like your dad didn't really fight for you. So you saw that and you took that personal and you fought for them. And I think that, that says something about your character, and it says something about, like you said, Faith, who God intended you to be. And you've been tested and you failed some tests along the way, but he's given you several different chances to where you've taken those lifelines and those experiences and you've really stepped up and really conquered and made the best out of opportunities that you could. I mean, it's so great that you've got your girls now, right? Both girls. Yep. Happily married. You got a son, right? So you got 2 girls and a son. You moved to Nashville. You going to the honky tonk bars yet, or what?
No, not open yet because of the COVID. But
yeah. I try to keep in my mind that COVID's not really happening, right? So I got my hair did. People are like, how'd you get your hair did? I'm like, You don't want to know.
You
So-
did. You did get your hair done. Look at you.
I did. I got my hair did. It was.
I know. I can tell.
I had that Justin Timberlake, Jerry curl going on. I needed
Yeah.
to spice it up and look like Mike Pence wannabe. But
Yeah.
by the way, out of all our markets that we're in, and I haven't been there yet, Nashville's the most fun, hands down.
Yeah.
I love Nashville. That's a place like
Yeah.
I could live. My wife loves it. We love Nashville. It's great. So
Yep.
Eric's a great dude. I mean, you're there with Eric. He's a great dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, do you see a resemblance between Eric and me?
Yeah, I could actually see that. That's kind of
A
scary.
little bit. Yeah. Now that you say it.
Oh, there it is. Yep. He's got that scar in the back from that Mickey Mouse hair implant he tried. So you gotta pick up about that. He did some weird implant. But
I'm wearing my hat because I can't get a haircut right now. As soon as I can go get one, I'm going to get one. This is ridiculous.
well, I mean, dude, that is a very, very tough story to overcome, and the adversity that you did overcome and not quit. And I take some of it personally, and I'm not going to mention names, but there's some people close to me that have similar situations, and has fought addiction, not that you like, and depression, and
Yeah, it's okay.
their kids, right? And so, this is inspiring, and I hope that this person gets a chance that's dear to me that listens to this, because these are the type of things that people need to hear. They need to see and hear, Tim, that look, if he can do it, why not me, right? Everyone's like, can I do that? If other people can, you can. You make your decision. We were talking about earlier, there's no such thing as a wrong decision. It's your decision, and you've got to live with it. There's no right and wrong and weigh them out. You make your decision, and that's it, right? You can't second guess it. And I think that you have been blessed, and you have taken the second part, the last 8-9 years, and really have turned things around for the better for your family, for you. And I think we're lucky to have you on our team, and it's an inspiration to hear your story and for you to be able to share it with people. You were very detailed, and I appreciate that, because some people, they just hear a vague story and it doesn't touch them enough. But when they hear the details, a lot of the things, not a lot, some of the things that you went through, I could relate to. Like, I had a kid out of wedlock. I had in-laws that it was hard with at the beginning.
Yeah.
I had fighting for my daughter back and forth because we weren't together. We'd play house. We wouldn't.
Yeah.
Nothing on your scale, but I mean, I understand some of those things. And, if it's going to relate and it's going to touch a lot of people out there that I think can take this and go, you know what, that guy, Tim, that's an inspirational story right there, that he's got his life around. They're living in a fantastic, what did you say? Almost 2,800, 2,500 square foot home. Got the kids. You're living in Nashville, honky tonk Nashville, right?
Baby.
You're making six figures, happily married. Like, dude, that's what it's about. It's not about how much. It's about being happy. And
That's right.
Look and exuberate happiness, right, John? I mean, you see it on.
Look, I heard that story. I don't know if you remember this, Tim, but at the sales retreat, we sat down.
Yep.
We got talking for probably as long as we were just talking just now, and you told me that whole story, at least 80% of it.
Yeah.
And during that time, I was fighting back tears. During this time, I was fighting back tears, and it's an amazing story. And I'll probably start crying again. But look, I was on the call with the DMs this morning, and I watched you kiss your kid goodbye, and I mean, it's just emotional, man. It is. You created this life for your kids that you didn't have, and that's phenomenal, man. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Thank you, man. That means a lot. Like, if I could give one message to all the people that are out there that are listening to this, this is a never give up type situation. And if you're in it and you're out there and you hear this, like, there is that light at the end of the tunnel. And just like Jayson said, it's not a situation of, my situation is unique, I'll never be able to get out of this. Take the no and take the negativity out of it, and just change the I can't to I can. Mm-hmm. And you'll see such a huge difference in a matter of days, and where you're at on your mental and where you're at on your physical, and you can put that stuff behind you and you can move on from it. And I'm an example of that. And my thing is that, just because you didn't graduate high school doesn't mean that you can't be successful.
Correct.
Because you only have a GED doesn't mean that you can't be successful. You don't have to go to college. And I'm not saying that college isn't a bad thing. Go to college. If that's your thing, do it. Do you, be successful, but if you don't have it and you're not fortunate enough to be able to go do those things, you can still find success in other ways. And success is measured in so many different types of ways for so many different people. And you find maybe your success is happiness. And I'm happy. Myself, I'm happy where I'm at. Obviously, financially, that's nice. And that's where I want to be at as far as financially goes. And I always said this, if I can go from in 2009 making $16,000 a year working at a restaurant to 2020 making $160,000 a year, 10x in my life, then in 2030, fellas, I'm going to be a millionaire, and it's guaranteed.
That's right, baby. That's right. And change it to I can, because that's the story you're writing. And that's exciting, right, dude. That is cool. Well, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for, the inspiration that you're giving not only to our team, but to your family and the people around you. I mean, I think that's awesome. I think you're a blessed and great person, Tim. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
John.
Tim.
Any final word? You're good. All right. So,
good, man.
Hey, that's a wrap on True Underdog podcasts and YouTube. You can check us out at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and our badass YouTube channel, True Underdog. Bam!
True Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Building a movement, baby.